thank you for finding your way to this resources page. Soul Dr. Nick here, and having spent so much of my life reading such amazing books, experiencing such amazing things, having such great podcasts, I wanted to share some of my favorite stuff, and this list will keep expanding and also curating at the same time, because it's not about more. And one of the things I'll drop in there is that one of the things that we probably don't do enough is to read fiction, science fiction, fantasy, things that we might be interested in, because there's so much more truth there and seeds that are planted than you can imagine. And then there's the quote unquote self-help books that can be really helpful. And then there's the podcasts and the audiobooks and the movies and things like that. And just to give you a hint, there's no right answer, right order to do these things in, but start with what feels simple and accessible, and feel okay if you quit any resource, because it may not be the one for you right here, right now. For example, one of the most important books that I've read is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. But it was so challenging to read the first time, listen to the first time, that I really only got one little message from it. And it's only when I came back to it later that it really started to make sense, because that inner voice was so loud and so critical, I couldn't hear it. And then I got to look back and say, oh, as a kid, how many things did I do? I read the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, the fictionalized story of Buddha, which is really important. I can think, I can wait, I can fast. And then I read The Alchemist. I read Le Petit Prince, The Little Prince. I, as an adult only, read The Never-Ending Story, but I watched it as a kid, and it was one of the most profound movies, even though the movie was just a tiny microcosm of the book. And so there's so many different aspects of this, and there's so many short stories now that I read. The Merchant and the Alchemist, The Story of Us, Ted Chiang. Both of those are really important in my life right now. Looking at time, looking at travel, looking at the future self, the past self. And then there are other books in terms of the self-help side of things that I've read over and over again. The one that's right now on my Kindle that I can see is Nothing in This Book is True, but It's Exactly How Things Are by Bob Frizzle. And I wouldn't recommend that as a first book for many of you, because it kind of goes into some crazy looking realms, such as aliens and other things like that. And it's really intriguing to see how it tickles the mind and possibilities. And that's part of it. It's just, how do I let go of the possibilities or the realities I see it? One of the things that comes up right now is one of my favorite, most profound books or series of books is Calvin and Hobbes. And you're like, wait, is that the comic strip? Yes, that is profound. And one of the most profound things in there is the playing of the game Calvin Ball, where there are not no rules, but we get to keep changing the rules. I have my own set of rules, you have your own set of rules. And when we're not trying to just impose our rules on each other, what's possible? How do I see my own rule set, and how's my life unfolded based on the rule set that I'd already created? And then when we take a look at podcasts, I love listening to things like Jack Cruz now. I love listening to the Know Thyself podcast, especially with Dr. John DeMartini, the Modern Wisdom podcast, especially with Matthew McConaughey, the Diary of a CEO podcast. Now that one, there's some that are really good, and it keeps changing, because a lot of these podcasts are done by young, unmarried men who are not fathers yet. And I'm stepping into more podcasts which are done by fathers, because that's where I'm at. It's a different level of appreciation and understanding when you've actually got your own children here in the physical 3D world, when you've got your best teachers in front of you. And that's what our children really are. And the different things that we learn from them. And then looking at the movies, both fictional movies, so good to watch fiction movies. And then watch fiction TV. One of my favorite series is the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. And the books were where I started. Holy crap. And now the TV series is unlocking another layer of possibility. Not always the best, not always cohesive. And you can see sometimes it's a consensus viewpoint as opposed to one single author who actually got to go with it all. And there's so much magic there. Then there's the movie series, just like the Matrix series. Many of you will imagine that as a wonderful place to start. Not only is it amazing action, I remember the first time I got to see it in theaters, just jaw-dropping action. And it was only later that I realized, oh my God, there's so many spiritual messages in this. And how fun is that we get to see things on different levels and appreciate them on different levels. And that's a piece too, how to appreciate things. One of the things for me recently is watching the Mission Impossible series again. We watched that as a kid, the TV show, and now the movies. And one of the most profound quotes that I have now is, grace. It's only pain. Remember, it's only pain. And it's helped me to alchemize the experience of pain differently, something I used to avoid, run away from. And so notice as you're with this resources page, if you're just jumping from resource to resource to resource, and how do you actually alchemize it? How do you actually integrate it? And a big part of that is coming to Ohana breath, coming to something regular, where you're having experiential processes, and then taking that experience in everyday life. So now when I'm doing things, even just sitting outside in the sunshine, folding the laundry, taking out the trash, I'm always like, how do I make this just as much of an experience as the most profound experiences I can create? And it isn't always there, especially when someone is telling me things that I don't want to hear. It isn't always there. And it's a practice. It's a practice to go through all the different emotions. It's a practice for me when I am sitting down, and I'm going to say it here because if you've gotten here, then you get to hear this, almost every morning having both a coffee, urine enema, and we'll talk about that at some point in time, why that's so powerful for me, and it's not for everyone. And whether I'm listening to a podcast, listening to an audiobook, or whether I'm just listening to music, or whether I'm just meditating, and really being able to own what is it that's going to serve me the most of this time, rather than what is it I think I'm supposed to do to get the most of, to maximize productivity. And it keeps coming back to, how do I actually have fun? So in all of this, all these resources, notice, if this isn't actually guiding me to actually enjoy life more, then what am I doing? Am I just trying to feel like I am going to school again? I'm getting a check mark, someone's saying good job. Or am I actually looking at my own internal compass and saying, okay, these can all act as wayfinders, navigators, guides. I am the captain of my own ship, and I am captaining it in this direction. And even while I'm captaining it, I'm recognizing that I'm this little blue ball spinning and hurtling through the cosmos. And really, the amount that I captain relative to the amount that I'm moving via passive action is tiny. And so how do I actually realize that sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, not even look into any of these things? And so please enjoy this page, enjoy all the things here. Feel free, I invite you, I request you to give back comments and feedbacks, and I'll keep expanding on the insights that I see, not that they are the insights. It might just give you a little bit of a clue as to what serves you right now. Ciao for now.